Hello, everybody. Today is Tuesday, January 31st, the last day of January 2023, and you are listening to The Daily Thread.
Right.
So, back to some cloudy weather. Happens to be, I see a story over here that New York City has a snowless winter, which is breaks a 50-year record so far. 50-year record. But I feel like we had some flurries. I wonder what...
But it didn't have accumulation of snow, really. You know, a couple of days the windshields were a little bit icy, but that was it.
It says here that it snowed 0.4 inches in New York City 326 days ago on March 9th, 2022, which was the last time there was measurable snow.
I know when you come out of your car in the morning and your windshield is iced up, you feel like the most unluckiest person in the world.
I know. So
you got to go find something to scrape the ice off. Can't do it with your hands, although most people try to do it with their fingers.
Yeah.
But they can't find their gloves, so they do it with bare hand, you know. Mm-hmm. It's very uncomfortable.
I know, but it's been
very distressing.
Winter has
very
been good
stressful
to us. As I see a flurry fall down from outside, you know, so it is, maybe there'll be a breakthrough. But something that's also worth noting is that Israel got some rain over the last 24 hours.
This is the rainy season, isn't it?
Shmei Bracha, I know, but they really needed rain. They needed rain badly.
When I was there, Hanukkah, there was one day, whoa, was it raining?
But it's incredible to see.
Filled it up for the season.
It's incredible to see that when they, you know, something goes out, everyone has to daven for the rain, and then boom, days later, it starts pouring, and everyone is so happy there. You know, the crops get to grow, and super important.
Know, Hashem doesn't work so easily. You know, his calculations are much more complicated than, you know, let's go daven for rain and we'll have rain.
Well, in this situation, that's what it looked like a little bit.
You know, there was this great story of many, many years ago, 100 years ago, there was a
100 years ago?
Yeah. Well,
you were like 15 then?
No, 75 years ago, okay?
So you're like 10?
I wasn't 10 now. There was a drought in Eretz Yisrael, and all the Rabbanim got together to pray for rain, okay? Yeah. And there was still no rain. They davened with all their hearts and all their soul for rain, and there was no rain. So they sent out all the rabbis and all their messengers, go search around the country and find out why we're davening for rain and there's no rain a whole winter. And they went all the way up north in Eretz Yisrael, and they found an old woman in a home with holes in her roof, and she was praying that it shouldn't rain. So...
a story here via Israel National News. Now, this is an interesting one. The headline reads: A couple leaves a baby while trying to board a flight at Ben Gurion. Okay, so the story goes as follows: A couple arrived Tuesday, which is today, with a baby in Tel Aviv flying Ryanair to Brussels.
Okay.
While the couple had intended to fly with their baby, the child did not have his own ticket. The two were asked to pay for the baby's ticket, leading to an argument. The couple then left the baby in his stroller and went to passport control. Channel 12 News reported that the flight attendants spotted the abandoned baby and quickly called the Israeli police. The police acted quickly in order to find the parents, who advanced towards the flight and brought them back. The two were taken for questioning after being reunited with their child. The manager of Ryanair Station said, "All the workers today are in shock. We have never encountered anything like this. We couldn't believe what we were seeing." Officials at the airport's authority told Channel 12 that the couple had arrived late after the flight's counters were closed. According to them, the couple attempted to reach the security check and left their baby by the conveyor belts. Since the couple did not have boarding passes for everyone, they were turned back and took the baby. How much?
So at what point do you...
At what price of the ticket do you decide to abandon the baby?
What goes into the decision-making process where you say, okay, we're going to have to leave the baby here? We have to get to Brussels.
And what's that conversation like between husband and wife? Like,
well, they said it was an argument, so apparently it wasn't.
We're not taking her.
It wasn't very.
We're not taking her.
I don't know. I don't know who this couple was. It requires a little bit more research, I think.
Jason, we're not taking her.
But
Idozi?
I don't know. Obviously, there's something off here. You know, I would say my.
Do you think there's any chance there's a mistake?
No. While you were reading the story, did they forgot the baby?
Meaning, like, no, like they meant to go back and they just, I don't know.
I mean, he thought she had the baby and she thought he had the baby.
We've heard of stories like that.
So each one thought the other one had the baby, but at what point do you make a decision to leave your baby behind? Because you really got what was going on in Brussels that they had to get there so urgently? I mean, there's many sides to this question that have to be explored and analyzed.
I think just one of them is really important.
Which is it really their baby? No, I'm serious. Who would leave their own baby behind in a stroller in an airport?
So you're demanding a DNA test. Maybe this baby was kidnapped.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a possibility.
So you're ruling out any chance that it was a
Am I ruling out that anyone being that stupid? Am I ruling that out?
You're ruling out that it was just a mistake.
I'm almost ruling out being that stupid. I'm almost willing to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I think we need to call Fauda. I think we need to call Shin Bet over here. We need to call Shin Bet and get them.
I don't know.
Get them on this case.
I don't know. I
But one second, you're flying Ryanair.
What's Ryanair?
It's a low budget airline. It's a low budget airline.
Low budget airlines, and it flies what, international? Does it fly from New York? I saw one of the airports either in Israel or here. I saw a Ryanair jet on one of the runways.
It's a low budget airline. It's like,
seats,
it's like a brother airline with Spirit.
You have to stand, or you can have a seat.
I think you have seats, but I think you get to like choose your own seat. It's like one of those.
They have like a strap hanger, like on a train.
Not on a plane, unless you're going, unless you're in the military.
Oh, they strap you in.
If you're getting strapped in, I'm sorry, but you're going to fight in Afghanistan. Like that's something you should know.
Anyways, this couple, they're going from Tel Aviv, so they were in Israel, so they have some kind of shaykhus to Israel, right?
Maybe it wasn't their baby.
That's my number one suspicion.
Should we report a kidnapping?
What?
Should we report a kidnapping?
The police are on the case. Well, what's your problem? They don't need your involvement.
They're dealing with bigger stuff.
They'll be okay without you. You can go to the next story now.
Okay, well, this story comes out of Ohio, and it's via JTA. Ohio is investigating a Nazi homeschooling network that teaches children to love Hitler. Ohio's Department of Education is investigating a homeschooling network that claims public schools are run by Zionist expletive. Teaches kids to say Sieg Heil.
Sieg Heil.
Yeah.
That's a German salute.
I don't know why you know that. In class, and instructs fellow parents.
It's part of history, so
I guess so. Fellow parents to give their kids Jewish media content. There are more than 2,500 members of this dissident homeschool network, a channel in the social network messaging app Telegram. That's why Telegram is bad, by the way, if everyone wants to know. The dissidents are a group of Nazi parents who share homeschooling lesson plans, extolling the virtues of Hitler and white nationalism, while relying on a popular social media account run by a Jewish woman to provide ammunition for their hatred. I wonder which woman.
I don't know.
Probably Chaya Raichik. The founders of the group were recently unmasked by a hate group monitor as a couple rule Upper Sandusky, Ohio. This is pretty bad.
It's a weird story. You're talking about
2,500.
Talking about a fringe group, you know?
But 2,500 members.
It's ridiculous. It's probably exaggerated numbers. There's probably 25, and they added 2 zeros to it. I was thinking last night about not to go off on a tangent, but we talk about self-hating Jews. You know? Jews that live in America, for example, that are for a two-state solution, that are against government in Israel, that criticize people like Ben Gvir and Smotrich and the right wing and so on.
Well, I think there's a fine line. Just because someone criticizes Ben Gvir and Smotrich doesn't mean they're a self-hating Jew.
So, but at what point can you consider a Jew who's critical of other Jews and Israel as a self-hating Jew? What is that? It's
a very good topic.
I'll tell you the reason I was thinking about that, because all I hear in the clips on the news about what happened in Memphis, that even though there was 5 black police officers, that it involves white supremacy. So black police officers conceivably could be influenced by white supremacy. So if there's self-hating Jews, then there could be self-hating blacks. Can't it be? That's why they beat this guy up. That's why they beat this guy until he died, unfortunately.
I don't know why they did that, and I think they're going to...
Anyway, we discussed the
No, but like the self-hating Jew conversation, like at what point is someone defined as self-hating Jew? What point do they need to reach? They support the Palestinians?
No.
Then they're anti-Zionist. Are they self-hating Jew?
We don't agree with the position, but it's a very complicated issue.
I want to play a clip. I want to play a clip now on this episode. This is a clip of David Greenfield.
Play that whole clip about anti-Semitism?
It was incredible. And he said this a bunch of years ago, it falls around this time with Holocaust Remembrance Day. And I think it's just it's a 90-second clip. So
he was a city councilman.
He was a city councilman, and they were discussing stuff that are that pertains to Holocaust remembrance, and a group of people unfurled a Palestinian flag.
They were protesting. They were protesting the solidarity with Israel, with observing Holocaust remembrance and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and this is the clip.
Thank you, Madam Public Advocate. I've waited my turn here. I've followed protocol in the New York City Council and haven't spoken out because I respect this chamber. I have to tell you, I'm still shaken to my core. I'm upset. I'm angry. But I'll tell you honestly, I'm actually somewhat pleased at what we saw here today. If you're wondering why I'm saying that, is because for the last few weeks, we've heard from people who said, oh, we don't dislike Jews. We only dislike the state of Israel. We have no problem with you. We simply don't want you to go to Israel. But we know that's not really at the core of what they were saying, and today they proved it. While we were discussing a resolution regarding the murder of 1.1 million human beings, I will point out that 90% of whom were Jewish, but the other 10% were political dissidents, they were Jehovah's Witnesses, they were gays. Those were the people who were being killed together in Auschwitz-Birkenau. While we were discussing that, they had the nerve, the chutzpah, the temerity to unfurl a Palestinian flag and to yell at us while we were discussing that. And so the reason I'm pleased is because we can stop pretending that this is about Israel when the reality is that every Middle Eastern country that is in existence today is not democratic and persecutes people of other faiths and persecutes gays and persecutes people who disagree with them and persecutes people on Twitter and persecutes women who drive, except for one country, which is the state of Israel. And so what you saw here today was naked, blind, anti-Semitism. That's what you saw, and that's what you watched, and that's what you witnessed. People who are upset for one reason. Do you want to know why they're angry? Do you want to know why they're unfurling that flag today? Because Hitler did not finish the job. He only wiped out half of my family. And only by the grace of God is the other half, me, the grandchild, still alive today. That's why those people are upset. Shame on them. Shame on them for hating Jews. Shame on them for hating people. Shame on them for disrespecting the most diverse, democratically elected body in the United States of America. And that's why we go to Israel. We go to Israel to make a message that is clear, that we will not be cowered by this fear and by this hatred that we have, where these are people who would celebrate the death of Jews rather than mourn the death of innocence. I am embarrassed at what happened here today, but I am pleased that we finally see what this is all about. Good old-fashioned anti-Semitism. Thank you.
Councilmember Mealy.
Yeah, so I saw that yesterday happen to me. I think that the passion there is something that Jewish leadership, it was really good to see then, and I hope we have more of that now, to be honest.
All right, so, it's a really...
We have to condemn the self-hating Jews, by the way.
You really have to get a sociologist.
Like Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer's a self-hating Jew.
I don't know.
He used to get up by Jewish concerts to say, I'm a Shomer Yisrael, and he used to be, wave out an Israeli flag. Who let him do that? Which concert organizers let Chuck Schumer?
He used to show up everywhere.
He stopped, though. Why did he stop?
Every yeshiva dinner.
Why did he stop?
He was there. I think he's been exposed as a hypocrite. As a leftist, liberal hypocrite. He during the Barack Obama administration, he got permission from Obama to vote against the Iran deal, only because Obama already calculated that he had enough votes to pass it, so that he didn't need Schumer's vote, so Schumer could say, I oppose.
So he saved face.
I oppose the Iran deal. I oppose giving Iran nuclear weapons. So, everything is very carefully politically calculated, and most of the time it's dishonest. It's intellectually dishonest.
A good news story, something that is applicable to the Meaningful Minute family, meaningful people.
Applicable.
What?
Applicable.
What did I say?
I don't know. Applicable. I don't know.
I said applicable.
Okay.
Roll the tape. What did I say? Applicable. Anyways.
Either one is good, I guess.
Anyways, one of our previous guests, Rivka Shotkin.
Right, I saw that.
The other day, partook in the marathon in Florida, and she completed it. She wheeled her way. Here's a story. She was actually on South Florida News last night, and the title reads, years after a teen paralyzed in a ski accident, she crosses the finish line at the Miami Marathon. But yeah, shout out to Rivka for doing this.
That's great.
She said, while you're doing the marathon, it feels like it's never going to end, and then crossing the line, it's like, oh my God, I did it. And it's just a shout out to her, and shout out to NBC Miami. They featured on the news last night.
You used the word shout out a lot.
You don't like the word shout out?
I don't know. What does it mean exactly? Shout out. What are you shouting out their name? What are you looking at me like? What are you looking at me like that?
It's part of the vocabulary. It's
shout
like,
out for this, shout out for that.
what in your generation? What is the term shout out? Like, what is it?
I would say you have to say that we'd like to applaud.
See that you just used 4 words, then I use 1.
Yeah,
Just trying to conserve energy.
The idea is to be economical on the words.
Yeah, I feel like the word random wasn't either used in your time.
No, random was word. It was used appropriately, not to replace every intelligent thought. Oh, that's a random idea. Oh, that's a random thing to buy for lunch. It didn't replace every single word. What are you looking at? Anyway, I had a great conversation.
Are you
yesterday.
adding me?
No. Am I what?
Adding me.
What does adding mean? Adding?
Calling me out.
Am I outing you? Oh, no, I'm not.
No, not outing. Adding.
Adding? ADDING?
ATTING.
ATT? I mean, like attitude?
Oh my gosh, no. But that's pretty good. I never thought of that.
My attitude? Am I disrespecting you? Is that what you mean?
No.
I'm not chas v'shalom. I have immense respect. Immense respect.
What
for
else you got?
Well, I had a long conversation yesterday with Rabbi Shalom Lew.
Ooh.
L-E-W, Lou.
Nice.
In Glendale, Arizona.
Skip to my Lou.
The Super Bowl's being held on February 12th.
Yeah, it is.
At State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. I think after my conversation with him yesterday, we spoke about a half hour. I know everything there is to know about wanting to be in the Super Bowl and being a frum Jew. Okay? And you know what he told me? He told me a lot of things. It's in this week's 5 Towns Jewish Times.
Plug.
I analyzed the aftermath of No Yeshiva Week shifting right into Super Bowl weekend, okay? Some people are very, very busy, come back from Cancun or Panama.
And they have to go to the Super Bowl.
They have to go to work for a day, maybe not even for a full day. They check into work, and then they have to work out travel arrangements to Arizona.
Life is difficult, yeah.
Anyway, so he told me yesterday was Monday. I spoke to him around noontime yesterday. He told me that morning after Philadelphia won, and it was determined that Philadelphia and Kansas City were going to be the Super Bowl, he had 15 calls from Jews in Philadelphia.
What are they calling him about? Accommodations
for Shabbos of the Super Bowl.
They can't stay in a hotel?
But they want a minyan. They want kosher food. There's a lot of different elements to. It's not just a game, the Super Bowl. It takes 3 hours.
The weekend.
Yeah, there's 65,700 seats in State Farm Stadium, and for probably 64,000 of those people, they come there, they buy some beer, they get a frank and a sandwich, and they watch the game. Stadium in Arizona?
No,
Anybody
but the weather is usually amazing there.
I know.
It's not a dome.
So I'm just wondering if the temperature control or the weather's always good in Arizona. Anyway, he told me yesterday for Monday morning he got 15 calls from people in Philadelphia about accommodations for Shabbos. Now, he says that most of the hotels that are near the stadium is about 8 miles from his Chabad house. So you really can't stay in the hotel and walk to him on Shabbos.
Right.
Okay, but another thing he told me, by the way, that it's 50 Chabad Shluchim in Arizona.
Wow.
Okay, and now they're all spread out. Scottsdale, Phoenix, Glendale, they're all over the place. It's not anything like walking distance. But he told me Super Bowl weekend is also in New York is going to be the Kines HaShluchos. So all the women are going to be in New York.
It's so funny how that works out, no?
All the women are being in New York. There's plenty of room for guests in the house.
Wow.
And you know what? You don't even have to make your bed. You can just stay there. So he's going to have there's a lot of elements that he's working on. Number one, there's a yeshiva, there's a Lubavitcher high school in Glendale.
Yeah.
It has 50 boys, 50 students, and he's going to have a glatt kosher tailgate party all over the parking lot with putting on film.
Like we got to send someone down there. We're gonna speak to Yossi today. Yossi Farrow.
You must, if you speak to Rabbi Lou, he could hook you up with one of the boys that are already there, probably. Okay,
we'll see.
You want to send him a couple of bucks and have him take a video on his iPhone or whatever, or his Android, whatever else takes good videos. I think you'll work that out. You don't have to send anybody down there.
We will see.
You don't have to fly anybody down there.
So similar on this vein, I think there's an amazing story. It happens to be that I think one of our writers from meaningfulminute.org, right, Mordechai Berg, wrote an article about this that's going to be coming out in the next couple of days. But anyone who's a sports fan, and even if you're not a sports fan, the story is interesting. So the end of the Kansas City Chiefs versus Cincinnati Bengals game the other day, it came down to a crucial play. The Kansas City Chiefs needed to get into field goal range to win the game.
Right.
And it wouldn't have happened if Joseph Asai, who was a 22-year-old on the Cincinnati Bengals, hadn't pushed Patrick Mahomes after he stepped out of bounds.
Oh, that's the big, 375-pound guy.
I don't know if he's 375, but he's definitely he's a big guy.
He could have hurt him. He could have hurt Mahomes.
And you know, they threw a flag, which, to be honest, I think was not the right decision, but we're not going to get into that now.
I disagree with you.
We're not getting into whether it was the right decision.
He was
or not.
already out of bounds.
I know, but you don't. As a ref, you don't decide a game. You let them play, and there were other plays that they missed. Probably one of the worst officiated games.
The rules are the rules.
I know, but you don't decide a game like that. Let the players.
You don't take a little 140-pound quarterback, 160-pound quarterback, and have a guy pulverize him on the sidelines.
First of all, this guy is running. He's running as fast as he can. All of his momentum. He's supposed to stop on a dime. What is he supposed to do?
He didn't have to run exactly in Mahomes' direction.
Well, I don't know if you know, but the objective of football is to tackle the player. Anyways, not the story. The story is as follows. Joseph Asai, ultimately, if you want to, in simple terms, he lost the game for his team.
Okay, that's
obviously
true.
you can't sum up an entire game in one play, but if we were to sum up an entire game in one play,
I agree.
They most likely would have gone to overtime, and who knows what would have happened. And you had this young 22-year-old that prevented his team from going to the Super Bowl, and he was seen crying, visibly crying on the sideline.
He's 22 years old?
22 years old. He was seen crying on the sideline, and he was being consoled by a few of his teammates. When he did walk to the locker room, though, one of his teammates was yelling it out of anger, "Why do you touch the quarterback?" And it was like, it was like straight out of like a Dr. Middos tape, Middos Alert.
So what's the story?
The story is that one of his teammates, his name is BJ Hill.
Yeah.
So after the game, Joseph Asai, who his eyes are red, he just cried for several minutes, an hour.
Right.
So the press is there. The press is there to ask questions, and I believe Joseph is a rookie, and it's you want to sink in your own. You want to just bury yourself in the ground. The press is there to ask you about the worst play you probably ever made in your life, and one of his teammates, BJ Hill, stood by his side the entire time. And if a member of the press would ask a question that he had felt was a dumb question or pointless or was reaching for something, BJ Hill, who was bigger than Joseph Asai even, would look at the media and go, "That's a dumb question. Next, don't ask that question. What are you trying to get out of here?"
Yeah, listen.
So it was a real showing of respect and achdus and togetherness, and that's what unity is. That's what it looks like.
Well,
so
listen, you remember, you weren't around. You weren't born for the 1986 World Series when
I don't know. I was not born.
Hit a ground ball to Bill Buckner of the Boston Red Sox.
Bill Buckner, but he was in he secluded himself to a life of.
It was a slow roll down the first baseline that he could have picked up and just stepped on the bag, and that would have been the end of the inning. It rolled through his legs.
Did anybody come out in his support?
Oh, I don't know. All I can tell you is that 40 years later, that's all he's remembered for. The guy who lost the World Series to the New York Mets in 1986.
I know.
So it's a hard thing to carry with you. Although this guy, what's his name again?
Joseph Asai.
Joseph Asai, he'll get over it.
I hope so. It's I just, again, the story I think is a teammate stepping up and standing by his teammate. Forget about like the game aspect. These players are all going to get a hefty bonus for making the Super Bowl. Financial incentives. It's not for these people. For us, it's a game. We watch the game, some of us. But for them, this money. That's money. And he made an awful play, and yet he still had teammates coming over to him and taking his side and protecting him from the media.
Listen, you got to stand with your team
always
through good times and bad, through thick or thin. And we learn a lot about life from sports. Okay, you have to be able to know how to win. You have to also know how to lose.
Yeah, knowing how to lose is super important, especially for anyone.
I think Winston Churchill said that success is what happens in between failures. So that's I
think Vince Lombardi said we didn't lose. The clock ran out.
No, Vince Lombardi said he's best known for saying the best defense is a good offense. Okay. You got that?
1 second, it's processing.
The best offense is if you score a lot of
Now
points.
now you're confused.
No, I'm not confused. If you score a lot of points, you don't have to. I'll translate it for you. If you score a lot of points, you don't have to worry about your defense. Don't
I
worry
think
about
that's been disproven.
A good offense is the best defense, or the best defense is a good offense. I'm not sure what order.
You see, I
was
did
uttered
confuse
in.
you.
All right, but that's the story. What else you got there on your agenda, or is that it?
I got nothing else really. I mean, I did see that Itamar Ben-Gvir is calling for terrorists to get the electric chair.
Well,
the 13-year-old who shot at those Jews in Yerushalayim was seen in custody, smiling and laughing. And me and you discussed this last night briefly, and I wonder what you think about this. And you know what? He's smiling and laughing. Do you know why? Because he knows that all it takes is for one of his brothers to go kidnap an Israeli soldier, and he'll get swapped in the next 10 years, maybe.
No, he's not going to be in jail for too long anyway. He'll be, first of all, I read this morning, he's in juvenile detention. He's not in a conventional
Why?
prison.
He's
13 years old.
It's attempted murder. It's a terrorist attack.
He's a baby. He's a 13-year-old baby. You're right, it's a terrorist attack. And
you think he should be in juvie?
No, I think Israel needs to crack down. Israel needs to crack down across the board.
Can we discuss something a little touchy?
Sure.
Should they kill him?
No, of course not.
Why not?
Well, first of all, he didn't kill anybody.
Well, he tried to.
Okay, that's attempted murder. It's a big difference between attempted murder and murder.
So we have to wait until he kills someone to actually serve justice.
We have to make sure that he doesn't take that opportunity again.
But like you said, he's not in a maximum security detention center right now, and he's most likely not going to sit for too long. And he's smiling and laughing and proud of what he did.
You do this every day. You take these positions that don't have any. They can't be implemented because they're not thought out. They're not well thought out. You have to be able to deal with this. What's his name? Rav Adin Steinsaltz, a great Torah commentator of modern times, of course, passed away a couple of years ago. He said the most important question you're ever going to ask yourself in life is, and then what?
Okay.
No matter what you're dealing with.
Ask me the question.
What?
Ask me that.
So they put him away a 13-year-old. They put him away in a prison with a bunch of hardened criminals that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Mm-hmm. And then what?
And then you keep him off the street from committing another crime like this. Because you bet someone like that who's laughing in custody and he's happy and skipping and dancing, that's not someone that you're going to cure.
The greater question is, how did a 13-year-old have access to a gun?
What do you suggest?
I don't know.
With your and then what theory? What do you suggest?
I suggest that Israel not be so liberal in terms of what they allow the Palestinians to have and not have. Anthony Blinken, as you know, is in the Middle East or was in the Middle East through today. Okay, yesterday he met in Ramallah with Mohammed Abbas and his whole team, and he said the opportunities for the Palestinians are almost all gone, and they were not happy about it. They're not there to scream about a two-state solution. They're not screaming anymore about dividing Jerusalem, with half of Jerusalem being the capital of Palestine and maybe the other half being the capital of Israel, although they're never going to concede to that. The opportunities for the Palestinians are almost all gone. And it's time to move on, and that'll help advance the relationship between Israel and the rest of the Arab world.
So what's going to happen with the Arabs in Israel?
They'll live there, just like the Arabs live in Sweden.
And what about the ones that are...
You be a law-abiding citizen.
So you say that so you think that a terrorist that commits an attack should get the electric chair, so to speak?
I think he should be made an example of. I think
So this 13-year-old you don't think should be?
I don't think
Why?
he would do that. Because he's a child, that's why.
And the person and one of the people he shot was a child.
All right, he's a child, and I always tell you guys that committing a crime and then proving that the crime was committed in court is two different things. And I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but you'll see these 5 cops in Memphis. They beat this guy till he died, okay? You're going to see when it comes to the trial and the story is told, it has no relationship to what happened that night. The law is completely different than something actually.
What you're saying is the law isn't necessarily just.
No, I said many times over the years, worse than that, for example, in order to achieve justice, our government prosecutors have to resort to injustice and dishonesty
in order to
receive justice. They got to fool people. They got to deceive them. I mean, if they just stated their cases properly, they could get the convictions and the proper punishments would be meted out to the people that deserve to be punished. Israel needs to have the death penalty on the books. I'm not saying they have to kill everybody, kill a person every single week.
Needs to be an option.
But a person that shot and killed 7 people like they did in Neve Yaakov Friday night, if that person is tried, has a fair trial, is convicted, okay, and is executed, it'll cut down future terror attacks 70 to 80%.
Really?
Okay?
I think so.
Then we move on. Then we move on from there, and we'll decide what the next step is when we get there.
Okay.
But as long as you can go to prison and get 3 meals a day and get a large screen TV with 1,000 channels, and your family gets enough money to live for the rest of their lives, that's not a proper formula. That's not going to save anybody's life down the road.
I agree with you. And that's today's episode of the Daily Thread. Make sure if you have any feedback to send us an email or a message on WhatsApp. You can subscribe to our WhatsApp account. Hit the link in the description of the show notes. If you want to send us an email, it is thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org. That is thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org. We're at you every single weekday with a new episode. So stay tuned, and we'll speak to you soon.
Have a nice day, everybody.